All right. Well, good morning, wildlife. How you guys feeling? You guys good? Awake? Hey, it's not too hot yet. It's gonna get really crazy this afternoon. Anyone again just really utilizing their pool? Anyone just like always in their pool? Awesome, awesome. Hey, well, if we haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Johnny, and I'm on staff here in Wildlife. And what we're about to do is we're about to head into our time of teaching. But before we do that, I have a one main announcement I want to highlight for you. We have next Sunday, we have our Baptism 101 course, which is an opportunity for everyone. If you have questions about baptism, if you have questions about like what is baptism, why do we do it as believers in Jesus, as Christians, or you just have any questions at all, this next Sunday, this is an opportunity for you guys to learn more about really just what's it all about. So if you want to be there, it's going to be during the 9 o'clock service. During this service, out in the lobby, you're going to be hanging out with me and a couple of other middle school students. And we're just going to be talking about what is baptism, why it is so important, and why is it so much more important than just like getting dunked, and why do we get dunked? Why is water involved, and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to be a part of that, you need to sign up. It's free. We're not going to charge you. But you need to go onto our website, rockypeak.org, and then go under the middle school section and sign up that way, just so I know who is coming, so that we can make sure everyone who is coming is there. All right. Now, if you just totally zoned out right now and you're thinking about how Chick-fil-A is closed today, and you got sad, go home, just talk to your parents, just say like, hey, I want to go to the baptism thing. And they have received an email a couple weeks ago, so they already know about it. All right. So we want you guys to be there. If you have questions, we do have a baptism coming up later in August, and hopefully we'll have a couple more later this fall. So this is not you signing up to get baptized. It's just you signing up to get more information about what it is all about. All right. So that's going to be a lot of fun next Sunday. But right now, we're going to head into a time of teaching, which we like to call the most important time of the morning, because we love to play crazy videos, crazy games, celebrate Maddie's birthday. We love to do all that kind of stuff, right? We love to worship. But the reason we're here is we want to understand more about who Jesus is and what he is calling you guys to, calling us to as believers in Jesus. Now, I know some of us in this room, some of us have said, hey, I love Jesus. I am a Christian. You would classify yourself as that. But some people in this room are like, I don't know. You still have questions. Questions are awesome. Questions are good. Now, some other people in this room might go like, I'm only here for a girl. I'm only here because that cute boy's here. Or I'm only here because my parents dragged me out of bed and I wanted to keep dreaming about Disneyland and stuff like that. What I'm getting at here is everyone dreaming about Chick-fil-A. All right. I dream about Carl's Jr. I don't know why. But anyway, everyone in this room, Michael dreams about Wendy's. Everyone in this room, we're all here for a different purpose. But everyone in this room is here because God wants you here. You see, wildlife is a place where you can belong. You can be here. You can be real. You can be honest and ask your questions. So, we're going to be starting a new series this morning called Heroes. So, a couple things. Grab the note sheet on your chair or in front of you as you guys came in. It should look just like this. And if you have one, just raise it up in the air like you just don't care. And just wave yourself a little bit. It's going to get hot today. This is a great thing. So this is a great tool to follow along in this time. If you notice, there's some fill in the blanks on the front and the back. This is a great way for you just to follow along so you don't get easily lost. All right. This is not a test. It's not a quiz. We're not going to grade you later. Like, hey, did you get the third point? Oh, you didn't? How dare you? No, we're not going to grade you. We're not going to test you. This is for you to hopefully remember something. Or if you're the kind of person that drawing helps you pay attention, draw me a donut fighting Godzilla. All right, just do that. Make it epic too, but also follow along. All right. So hey, we're gonna go ahead and pray, and we'll jump right in. I'm really excited to see those pictures. All right, let's go and pray. Jesus, thank you so much for this morning. Thank you for everyone here. We're excited because we are in your presence. You are with us. You are for us, not against us. And we don't take knowing that lightly. Jesus, you are with us. You know every thought we've ever thought. You know every emotion, every feeling we will ever feel. And you understand us. When some people, maybe they don't get us, they don't understand us, you do. And what a awesome privilege it is just to know you. So we ask Jesus just to be with us this morning as we start this brand new series. And it's your name. We all said, Amen. All right. Hey, well, we are starting this new series, but I have a question for you guys. All you have to do is raise your hand, and I'll choose you, and I'll ask your name, and you're going to say it out loud and proud. And if you go, Brittany, yeah, that's not loud and proud. All right. Here's the question. What is your favorite superhero movie of all time? Not just like, I really enjoyed Ant-Man Quantumania. Well, you're the only one. Well, I'm sorry, we'll talk about it later. But like of all time, all right? It could be The Incredibles. Great movie. Incredibles 2. Good movie too. All right, let's start right here. So tell everyone your name loud and proud. Gigi, you were here last night, so this is like a do-over. You're like, all right, I didn't get an answer. All right, so tell everyone your name. You already said that. Sorry. I had a monster earlier, so I'm like wired. Anyway. What's your favorite superhero movie of all time? Just one. 5, 4, 3. Iron Man. That's the first one. That's a good movie. It launched the MCU, and now the MCU is struggling, but that's okay. Let's go. Let's go right here. Tell everyone your name loud and proud. Sinjin. Everyone, this is Sinjin. Give it up for Sinjin. Sinjin, what is your favorite superhero movie of all time? Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Did you cry? No, all right, you're a man. Yeah. It's a good movie though. It's a good movie. I have a dog, so I got a little sad. I was like, I miss my dog. Let's go right here in the Coachella shirt. Very cool. Tell everyone your name loud and proud. Isaiah. Everyone, this is Isaiah. Let's give it up for Isaiah. I'm dying. Isaiah, what is your favorite superhero movie of all time? Mortal Kombat. All right. Some of us in this room just went, what? Very cool, Isaiah. Very cool. Let's go right here in the gray shirt, I think. Tell everyone your name loud and proud. Christian, everyone, this is Christian. Let me give it up for Christian. Christian, what's your favorite superhero movie of all time? Oh, Infinity War. So you prefer Infinity War over Endgame? Okay. You didn't like Endgame? Yeah, no one else did. It didn't make any money. Let's go right over here in the blue shirt. I like that you had to check to make sure your shirt was blue. I have to do that sometimes. Like, yep, that's still black. All right. So tell everyone your name loud and proud. Tanner. Everyone, this is Tanner. Let's give it up for Tanner. Tanner, what's your favorite superhero movie of all time? The Last Avenger. So Endgame. All right. So you guys might have to argue it out a little bit. He prefers Infinity War. Endgame. Tanner, I have a question. Follow-up question. What is your favorite part of Avengers Endgame? Can I answer for you? Cool. I loved it when Captain America got Thor's hammer. It was epic. It was awesome, right? And even when like Iron Man snapped his fingers and he sacrificed himself, that was epic. If any of you haven't seen that, it's been out for like 4 years. Anyway, let's go with one more. All right. Let's go right here in the glasses. Yes, you. Sorry. Tell everyone your name. Is that loud and proud? Okay. You're like, yeah. All right, Caleb. What's the best superhero movie of all time? Spider-Man. Now, question: which one? All of them. You have to pick one. Well, let me ask you a follow-up question. Who's your favorite Spider-Man? Okay. Okay, I get it. He's cute. Yeah, whatever. Caleb. Hold on. Shh. Caleb. Miles Morales. Oh, so, hey, who is here on Wednesday for Across the Spider-Verse at Studio Movie Girl? So good. There is a couple of you, I don't know who exactly, but like I sat towards the front left side, and a couple of times people went to the bathroom, because they do. As they were walking back, I could tell they had no idea where their seat was. So someone, I don't know who, they just like stood next to me and just watched the movie. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey, go that way. It was very cool. Hey, well, you can tell me your favorite super movie later, but I think all of us are obsessed with superhero movies. Now, maybe not everyone in this room, but as a culture, as a society, we are obsessed with superhero movies. For example, all superhero movies combined, Avengers movies, Batman movies, Superman movies, all these movies combined, estimated, I had to look this up, estimated have made over $3.5 billion. That's a lot of money, more than I will ever see. But that's a lot of money, right? And that kind of shows that all of us, we're fascinated with superheroes. We're fascinated with this idea of a hero. We love a hero. We love someone to save the day. Now, think back to a time when you were a kid. I know you guys are like, oh, kind of a kid. But when you were like a little kid, like you didn't know how to like pick your nose yet, right? A little kid. Think back to that time and think about the superheroes that you were fascinated with. I think some of us, we would dress up as our favorite superhero because we are just fascinated with superheroes. We want to be the hero in the story. We want to be the hero in our own story. This morning, we're starting a brand new series called Heroes, where we're going to be actually looking at some of the lesser known heroes of the Old Testament, the first half of our Bibles. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be unpacking this idea of a hero. What makes a hero a hero? Why are heroes so fascinating to us? Why do we want to be the hero? Why do we look up to heroes, whether they're superheroes, which are not real, or real heroes? Why do we want to be like these heroes? So, over the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to be looking at several different heroes in a book called Judges. Someone say Judges. Now, this book in the Old Testament, again, the first half, is a crazy book. It's actually pretty violent. If you've ever thought, like, the Bible's boring, I hate the Bible, it's boring. It's a crazy book. There is like violence and action. It is a cool book. It would be like an awesome like Netflix series. It's an awesome book. And what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at several different heroes found in the book of Judges. Now, before we turn there, before we open up our Bibles, I want to give us a little bit of context to what this book is about and kind of where is this book in regards to the whole story in the Bible. So, what you need to do, the book of Judges is helping us understand different heroes in the nation of Israel's history. So, what you need to know, is that the Israelites, God's chosen people, had just been freed out of 400 years of slavery. They were freed out of the land of Egypt. Now, if you've grown up going to RPK, you might be familiar with Egypt and Pharaoh and all the crazy stuff that happened. Moses was the one that parted the Red Sea. So the Israelites, God's chosen people, God chose these people to represent him to all the nation, the entire world. They've been freed from slavery, and they are now in the promised land. They're on their way to God's promised land. And Moses and Joshua have been leading these people, and it's not like 20 people. It's not like 500 people. It's thousands of people. This entire nation. And Moses and Joshua have been trying their absolute best to keep all of Israel's eyes on God, focused on God. But eventually, Moses and Joshua died. They passed away. And these people, Israel, were left with no one to lead them. Now, they were still being led by God. But what you need to know, Israel, time and time again, would constantly forget about what God has done for them. And they would always just keep going and running to other idols, other gods, and not keeping their eyes on God. So, if you guys have your Bibles, we're going to be in Judges chapter 2, starting at verse 10. Now, I'm sure most of us in this room have never really explored the Old Testament, except for like the book of Genesis. You're like, man, I know Genesis, God created the whole world. And then you get to chapter 4 and you're like, I don't know. I just forgot what happened. So Judges is in the first half of our Bibles. Remember, there's a table of contents. in the first couple pages of every Bible. That is a great tool to just find different books throughout the Bible, so never feel shame for using that. It's a great tool. So Judges chapter 2, and we're going to be starting at verse 10. So I'll give you guys a little bit to look that up, and once you have that, just say word up out loud. So I know that some of you are at least there. I'll give you guys a little bit of time. Judges chapter 2, starting at verse 10. Word up, word up, word up. All right. Some of you might just be saying that just because. But Judges chapter 2, starting at verse 10. And if you guys, for whatever reason, don't have a Bible, I want to encourage you to be bringing a Bible. If you want to borrow one of ours, you totally can. But also the verses are going to be on the screen as well. So if you have a Bible with you, just follow along with me in there. But if for whatever reason you don't, you can read along on the screen. Now, like I said, this time in history, with all of Israel, the nation of Israel, God's chosen people, Moses and Joshua have died, and the whole nation has gotten really dark. It is a scary time. Let's read it. Here we go. Verse 10. Follow along with me. After that whole generation had been gathered to their ancestors, in other words, saying that they have passed away, had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for them. For example, they didn't know, like, oh, God was the one that freed us out of slavery of Egypt. They didn't know that. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord and served the Baals. Now, Baals is a different word meaning false gods. They would be serving other gods that were not the one true God, the God of the Bible. We call him Yahweh. They were not serving him. They would be chasing after other false gods. Verse 12. They forsook the Lord and the God of their ancestors who had brought them out of Egypt. They followed and worshiped various gods of the peoples around them. They aroused the Lord's anger because they forsook him and served Baal and stay with me on this. This is a crazy word. I'm not going to name my child this one day, all right? The Ashtoreths. Someone say Ashtoreths. Gazoon type. Verse 14. In his anger against Israel, the Lord gave them into the hands of raiders who plundered them. He sold them into the hands of their enemies all around them, whom they were no longer able to resist. Whenever Israel, again, God's chosen people, went out to fight, the hand of the Lord was against them to defeat them. Just as he had sworn to them, they were in great distress. Now, this is crazy. This is not a pretty picture. If you are a big fan of Batman, or if you know of Gotham City, if you've ever played the Batman video games, Arkham Asylum, all those games, like, those are great games. If you can picture Gotham City for a moment, Gotham City is crazy. It's unruly. It's chaotic. Bad guys are running around, and there is no justice at all. It's an absolute mess. That's basically what's happening here. God's chosen people, Israel, have forgotten about who God is, and they are choosing to live for themselves. And this repetitiveness of turning away from God and saying, God, no, I want to do what I want to do. God then gave them exactly what they wanted, a life without him. And it says in verse 15 that they were in great distress. Another word for distress is suffering, great sorrow, pain. Israel was in a dark, dark place because they were putting other things above God. They were worshiping other false gods, gods that are not real, because they were being influenced around them by their culture. Now, I think for some of us in this room, we might go like, man, Israel, get it together. But I think if we were in that scenario, we would do the exact same thing. And I'm convinced that a lot of us, including myself, we do this from time to time. We put other things above God, and we start chasing those things, and then we ask God, God, where are you? God, where are you? What are you doing? Because we are chasing other things and not Jesus. And what we see here in this mess, in Israel's mess that they've created for themselves through God's love and his mercy and his grace, who he is, his character, he did something. He introduces the first epic hero into the story. So let's keep reading here in verse 16. Then the Lord raised up judges. If you have a pen with you, underline that word judges. Super important. Then the Lord raised up judges who saved them out of the hands of these raiders. Yet they would not listen to their judges, but prostituted themselves to other gods and worshiped them. They quickly turned from the ways of their ancestors who had been obedient to the Lord's commands. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge for them, he, talking about the judge, was talking about God, was with the judge and saved them out of the hands of their enemies as long as the judge lived. For the Lord relented because of their groaning under those who oppressed and afflicted them. But when the judge died, the people returned to the ways even more corrupt than those of their ancestors, following other gods and serving and worshiping them. They refused to give up their evil practices and stubborn ways. This is crazy, but it's also really exciting. Israel, in their rebellion, God said, hey, I'm not going to leave you where you're at. I'm actually going to raise up and send these people that are called judges to kind of help you out. Now, I think some of us in this room, when we think of the word judge, we think of like Judge Judy, which you probably just saw an image on the screen of right now. So Judge Judy is like a typical judge, right? I don't know how she's still alive, to be honest. And then, or we think of like another type of judge, a judge with like a gavel, and they say like you're going to prison or you're whatever. But a biblical judge, which means a judge of the Bible, probably look more something like this next image on the screen. An intense warrior, someone you don't want to mess with, right? Now, God would raise up these judges so that they would then protect Israel. Again, it says that he raised up judges so that they would be saved out of the hands of their enemies. Now, again, you see this guy and you're like, I'm not going to mess with you, right? These would be Israel's defenders. And these, over the next few weeks, these judges we're going to see are amazing people that God has risen up and chosen to be the heroes of Israel. These epic heroes. But what we didn't need to know first is your first fill-in on your note sheet. Write this down. We are the Israelites. We need a hero. We are the Israelites. Don't worry, I didn't even have you try to spell the word Israelites. We need a hero. I think some of us, including myself, when I read this, I have to remind myself, like, man, I would do the same thing if I was in their shoes. Israel's no better than me. For some of us, we might read these stories and we go, Israel, come on, get it together. Or we read like Adam and Eve's story, but like, how could you fall for the serpent? Come on, what are you doing? We would do the same thing. Just as Israel needed a hero, all of us need a hero as well. And this is what I want you guys to catch. And that hero is not us. We are not the hero in our story. We can never save us. Now, I want you guys to think back to a time, the last time you saw one of your favorite superhero movies, whether it was one of the Avengers movies, whether it was Batman, whether it was like a Superman movie, Spider-Man. Think back to a superhero movie that you watched. If you're not a fan of superhero movies, just think of a superhero for a second. Think back to that time, and when you watched those movies, did you ever relate or choose to relate with the bystander that was screaming at the top of their lungs? No, right? None of us ever choose to relate with those characters. We choose to relate with the hero. We want to be the hero because, one, the hero is awesome. Superheroes are awesome. They can fly, they can go invisible, they can climb walls. They are awesome. When I was a kid, one of the very first Spider-Man movie came out with Tobey Maguire, which came out years ago, before you guys were even like a thought. Years ago, and it is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a little cheesy now in comparison to other movies, but this movie, Spider-Man, is epic. The very first one, he fights the Green Goblin. It's awesome. There's actually this one scene where he's actually climbing up the wall for the first time. As a kid, no joke, I would go on the ground and I would do that. And I would show my dad, be like, Dad, look, I'm climbing on. And he'd be like, you're weird. What are you doing? I wanted to be the hero in the story. And even more so, I would even go to the extent when I had friends over, we would act out certain scenes of the movie in my backyard. I had a giant rope swing and we would pretend to be Spider-Man. By we, me, because I didn't let anyone be the hero in the acting out. I was the hero. They were always the villain. I'm an only child, so I don't know what it looks like to share. But every time I wanted to be the hero. And I think for a lot of us, we want to be the hero in the story. We choose to relate with Spider-Man, Superman, these epic, epic heroes. And I think we live our lives as if we are our own heroes. Or we even choose things or people to be our hero. And we put our hope in those heroes. And the moment we kind of lose hope in them because they have failed or they didn't live up to the expectations we had, we then get disappointed and we get really sad. And in Judges, God raised up these heroes, these judges, and these heroes were only successful at saving people when they were alive. It says that they ended up dying and God would raise up a new hero. And what the Bible's getting at there is that these Old Testament judges, these heroes, were just a shadow pointing to the ultimate hero that was to come, that would save everyone. And that's Jesus. Jesus is our ultimate hero. And yeah, Jesus, he died, but he rose from the dead, which I don't know about you. I've never done that. I don't know anyone else besides Jesus that has done that. And if I hear that someone rose from the dead, I'm going to listen to everything that they're going to say. And his death and his resurrection even proved how great Jesus actually is. Jesus is our ultimate hero. In the New Testament, the second half of our Bibles, found in Acts chapter 4, someone asks the Apostle Peter, "Hey, Peter, who gave you the authority to heal? Who gave you this epic authority?" And Peter says this in chapter 4, verse 10. It's on the bottom of your note sheet. Follow along with me. Peter responds to them with this: "Then know this, you and all the people of Israel, it is by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whom you crucified, but whom God raised from the dead, that this man stands before you healed. Jesus is the stone you builders rejected, which has become the cornerstone. Salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved." So what we see, Jesus is our ultimate hero. Judges is just a glimpse of what mankind, all of us, have done. We hear about God and we go, yeah, that's great. God, I want to do this on my own. I want to figure this out. I'm my own hero. I got this. I'm going to figure out this whole life thing, this whole middle school thing. I don't need you. And what we see is that Israel did this time and time again. And it said that God was just like, all right, I'm going to give you what you want, a life without me. And that was a dark, dark time. But God raised up these judges to defend his chosen people from all of their enemies. And again, it's not just a typical judge like we think, like Judge Judy or something like that. No, epic warriors. You don't want to mess with them, but they love God and they love God's people. So what we're going to see over the next few weeks, we're going to look at three different characters, three different judges. We're going to look at a character named Gideon, Samson, which some of us might be familiar with. He had the crazy long hair, and the moment he cut his hair, he lost all of his epic strength. And then we're going to look at another character named Ehud. Another character, another name I will not ever name my kid. These three judges we're going to be looking at over the next 3 weeks are all pointing us to our ultimate hero, Jesus. All these judges are a shadow of who Jesus is, that Jesus is your defender. He's your hero. Anyone you put above Jesus as your hero will always fail you. And I think for some of us, we might think, man, I'm my own hero. I got this. Or you put your faith and your hope in other things, the things that you have, maybe the people in your life. Maybe your hope and your hero are the friends around you because they make you feel good, which friendship is good. Don't get me wrong with that. But if we put our hope in someone that's not Jesus, we will always be disappointed. And I think these walls that we tend to put up is exactly what Israel did. Judges 2:19, it says this again, but when the judge died, when God's hero died and he was going to raise up a new one, it says the people returned to their even more corrupt than those of their ancestors, following other gods and serving and worshiping them. They refused to give up their evil practices and stubborn ways because the hero in their story ended up dying. But the hero in our story, Jesus, yeah, he died, but he rose again, which even proved how awesome he actually is. Jesus is our hero. So, on the back of your note sheet, we have 2 quick action steps, 2 quick questions I want you guys to think about this week. Number 1, write this down. Who is your hero? Who is your hero? And then the second question is this: where do you go for hope? Where do you go for hope? And who is your hero? If you put anything or anyone above Jesus as your hero, they will always disappoint you. They will always never really live up to the expectations you may have as a hero. Jesus is our ultimate hero. So who's your hero? Who's someone or something that you put above Jesus? And if you're like, oh man, I didn't even realize, like, I put all these things or these people above Jesus. Think about that. And then where do you go for hope? Do you put your hope in those false heroes, those heroes that will always disappoint you? Yeah, they might be good for a little while, a couple weeks, a couple years, but they will always feel you leaving empty and hopeless. Maybe you put your hero, your hope, in people liking you, your popularity. Like, man, as long as people can like make me feel good, can give me words of encouragement, tell me how awesome I am, all these different things, your popularity is not a long-lasting hero. So who's your hero, and where do you go for hope? And over the next few weeks, we're going to unpack this idea of a hero so that we can discover more of God's plan for your life and how God's plan is always better. His plan leads to life, and it changes us in major ways. But the only way for us to do that is to allow God to have our heart. If you remember in the last series in Wisdom, we talked about our hearts are deceitful. But if we give God our heart, God's awesome. He's perfect. He's good. If we give him our heart, we will then understand the big thing I want you guys to remember. Write this down. Last fill in. Jesus is the only solution to the struggles you are facing. There's no other solution out there. Jesus is the only solution to the struggles you are facing, the problems you are facing, the problems you are dealt with. Jesus is the only hero in our story. Yeah, we might have some false heroes. We might have some heroes that look nice or look good or look super strong, but they will always fail you. Jesus is the only solution to the struggles you are facing. So, as the band comes out, we're going to go into one last song of worship. But I want to hit this last point again, this big thing. Jesus is the only solution to the struggles you are facing. The solution in your life is not that boy or girl that gives you the attention that you're really longing for. It's not the money your family has. It's not the possessions you can get. Those things are false. They will always leave you feeling empty inside. But Jesus will always have you feeling fulfilled because Jesus is our ultimate hero and he wants your heart. He wants you to be with him forever. So, who's your hero? And where do you put your hope in? Where do you go for hope? Do you go for hope in the things that you have? Or do you put your hope in Jesus? I'm going to invite you guys to stand on up. We're going to go into one last song of worship. In this last song, I want you guys to think about this. Who's your hero? Where do you go for hope? So I'm going to ask you in this time to really wrestle with those questions. Think about it. They're not hard questions, but they're a question to really think about. So let's go ahead and pray, and we'll go into this last song of worship. Jesus, thank you so much that you are our hero. You give us hope, and we so desperately need it. Jesus, we are not the hero in our story. You are the hero. You are the one that calls us to surrender our life and give you our heart. So we love you for that. We thank you for that. It's in your name we all said, amen.